Okay, so we are reading Dorothy Dunnett, Porn and Frankincense, chapters, damn it, which chapters are we up to? 6 and 7, which I don't know if I have too much to say about a lot of the stuff in here, because I found this was basically the fallout of Lymond finding out about Oonagh's death and what happened after that. They're running through Algiers, trying to escape. They get back onto the ship and then run into Strozzi. And I knew that these chapters were going to be kind of like the chapters where Lymond goes crazy and has an emotional reaction to Oonagh's death. And that's exactly what happened. And I think this is also the chapters where I have gradually, slowly but surely, started to fall in love with Jerrott, because I don't know, just little things. I wish I could, like, let me give you an example. Because honestly, I was a bit confused about what happened in that whole thing after they find Oonagh dead and they're running through Algiers. It was a little confusing to me as to what exactly was happening. Lymond and Jerrott go from Sala Rice's house, where they found Oonagh's body, to the hut where Oonagh spent her last few weeks, and then they try to get back to the ship. But as they're trying to get back to the ship, there are people who actually would have killed them, but I don't know. I think that they're just like not related to Gabriel's people. I wish I highlighted all of my favorite Jerrott bits, and now I don't know where I've put them. There was one bit that I liked, which is actually right at the beginning of chapter 5, after Jerrott discovers Oonagh's body. And his reaction, instead of going on a murderous rampage like Lymond did, was he turned his back on that elegant kiosk and, closing his eyes, leaned against the smooth birch tree bark until the sickness cleared from his brain and the blackness from his sight, and until the turmoil was locked hard within him. This is a very good technique, Jerrott. You should do this very often. And I think he does. And you know who taught him this? Probably Gabriel. But it's a great technique, and Lymond should learn it. And Lymond is actually really good at controlling his emotions. It's just not all the time. But I just think that's such a really good thing of Jerrott to do. He's just like, I need to just take a moment here to get that image out of my mind so that I can go and tell Lymond and deal with it then. So it's just Jerrott is, you know, it's always the goofy ones that get me. But Jerrott keeps showing like little elements of like stable sanity that is just very attractive. And then Lymond kills people, and Jerrott says to him, "Francis, you take these killings on your soul," which is a little bit of a mean thing to say at the time, but also entirely true. Like, Lymond does not need to kill any of these people who really didn't have anything to do with, like, they were just following orders because they need to put food on their tables. Like, these people were really poor. Lymond saw their situation. They may have even been blackmailed into doing certain things with Oonagh's body. It's unclear if Oonagh was killed and maimed while she was alive, or if she committed suicide. But either way, a lot of these men wouldn't have been directly involved with that. They were just sort of middlemen and messengers, etc. And Lymond killed them in front of their family. Like, there's a line here, "The screaming of the women," this is on page 70, "the screaming of the women followed him into the night as he rammed the stained blade into its sheath. He died, the rictus still on his face, as Lymond drove the sword home with a jerk and then, wrenching it out, turned on his heel." So he's just killed this man who probably hasn't done too many bad things in front of this man's family. It's just not acceptable, Lymond. And it's like, this is like one of the first times that I'm just really struggling. And that's why I've taken a while to get through these chapters, is because I knew I was going to struggle with Lymond's reaction to Oonagh's death. And I do find it hard, even though we've seen so much good of Lymond, I find it so hard to accept that he's then going to kill other people in retaliation. And just how many lives is he going to kill to get to his son? Like, lives who were indirectly related, you know? Like, this poor man probably didn't do too many bad things. Just trying to feed his family, who then watched him die, and now his family have no breadwinner. It's like, wow. Nice one, Lymond. Anyway, so they get into some trouble. Then they get out of trouble because Salablanca saves them, which I'm really happy about. And Salablanca comes back, which I'm really happy about. And then they get back onto the ship. Lymond is single-mindedly now wanting to hunt down Gabriel to kill him and then find his son, and not really thinking things through. We get Philippa's point of view when Lymond gets back on the ship. Mart says, our envoy is not quite himself. And Philippa's like, let me see. And doesn't get to see Lymond, but Jerrott comes over and is kind of like smoothing over all of Lymond's sharp edges right now. And basically just fills them in, like Oonagh is dead, Lymond's son is dead, please don't go near Lymond is basically the bottom line. And Mart says, to pass over grief, they say, the Italian sleeps, the Frenchman sings, the German drinks, and the Spaniard laments, and the Englishman goes to plays. What then does the Scot? And Jerrott's mind sprang unbidden a picture of the sword Archie was trying to clean at this moment down below. This one kills. Honestly, like, it's, even though I don't like that Lymond is doing that, I also really like it from the fact that it's making the story more interesting and Lymond's character more interesting. So I can't really be annoyed. Like, I do want to see Lymond fall further and further. It's just hard to watch it. And, you know, the only thing, it's just such a clever play, because I think if I was watching Lymond do this by himself, I would really struggle. Because I've got Jerrott with him, it's such an interesting interplay between the two. And I'm trying to explain this. Let me see if I can explain this better. Like, Jerrott is just that little bit of sweetness that I keep needing, that really helps me keep reading the stuff that Lymond is doing, if that makes sense. There's a really awful line here. It's not awful, it's just great. Okay. When they're getting ready to leave, only the slaves being chained had no need to run, because everyone's running around the ship, like putting the sails up, getting ready to go. But the slaves can't run anywhere because they're in chains, and it's just such an interesting juxtaposition. It's like the people who are most free are the ones that are running around the most, and in that moment probably appear least free because they're just following all these orders, and the slaves seem to be so free just sitting there in their chains because they don't have to do anything. Oh, but they are not free. They're only sitting still and chilling out for that moment because they are in chains. So here is chapter 6, I think, is when I just gradually continue to fall in love with Jerrott. So we have him finally going to sleep, having worked extremely hard at the job, having fought for his life and undergone a considerable strain for the briefest of rest and the previous 36 hours, because it was actually so funny how Jerrott, I think when Salablanca's men saved Jerrott and Lymond, they knocked Jerrott out because he was yelling, which is funny. It's such a Will Scott thing to do. But also, Jerrott is probably mildly concussed here. That's all I can think. Like, he's so dopey for the next few days. I just actually think he has mild concussion, which just makes it really funny because he also gets drunk. Jerrott passed the afternoon on board the Dauphine in something of a dream. And there are Christian slaves on board. There was just this really cute detail where, like, two Christian slaves who were obviously caught in Algiers had seen a French ship and taken a punt and decided, well, they could kill us on the ship if they find us, but our life sucks anyway. So they snuck aboard the French ship. That was just a little moment of like, ouch. But like, it's also nice because they just accepted them. I don't think Philippa believes for a second that the child is dead. Anyway, so we get... Here's the thing about Leone Strozzi's, because I had to think for a moment, who the hell is Strozzi? And he was the guy back at the beginning of the Disorderly Knights that met Lymond, and he's now vying for the top spot of the Knights. What is it called? Not the Grand Meister, but like the Grand Commander of the Knights. Essentially, it's just weird because this was the ship that initially tried to sink Lymond's ship before they arrived at Algiers. But now they sort of come in peace. And I'm just thinking, did Strozzi know that that was Lymond's ship? It just feels a little bit fishy to me, to be honest. Like, because I want to trust Strozzi so badly. I really do, especially now that Lymond has given the papers of Gabriel's misdoings to Strozzi in good faith. But I just don't know if I do trust him, because he literally attacked Lymond's ship before. Why did he do that then and not now? I don't know. Like, Strozzi has attacked a ship with a French flag, but then the next time he sees the same ship doesn't attack it. I don't know. It's just weird and fishy, and I don't understand why he attacked it then and then didn't attack it the second time. Anyway, he gets on board and everyone gets drunk except for Lymond. So Strozzi, the conversation between Jerrott and Strozzi was absolutely hilarious. Like, Strozzi was like, Lymond, the one who is like drunk, he drinks and he makes music and love. And Jerrott's like, no, definitely not. And Leonie's like, oh yeah, no, this is the same guy. I see why now you have abandoned the order. So funny. Jerrott is in such... this book is basically out to get Jerrott, and I love Dunnett for it so much. Jerrott then proceeds to get drunk, though he seems to hold it together pretty well, to be honest. And he's just like, drink it, Francis, because everyone wants Lymond to get drunk so that he can just sort of have a moment where he doesn't have to think. And it's like, he gets so childish, Lymond. Oh my gosh. And so Lymond's, at Jerrott's behest, has given the papers to Leonie with the idea that Leonie's going to expose Gabriel, but then Leonie can't then run to be the leader of the Knights, which, I don't know, seems like a flawed idea, but that's what's happened. I think maybe Lymond did that because these papers coming from Lymond is not going to be as impactful if they came from someone like Strozzi, and Lymond knew that someone like Strozzi would have had to have been the one to do this and not him, so that it was more impactful, because everyone now knows that Lymond has a reason to hate Gabriel, and so coming from Lymond isn't going to be great. But if the papers have come like seemingly directly from whoever wrote them and signed them, which I think was the Queen, Queen Mother, Mary's mother. Maybe Leonie Strozzi really is actually a good guy, and he's just umming and ahhing between wanting to destroy Gabriel so that at least Gabriel can't be the leader, and his own ambitions, because it's completely fine to have ambitions. Like, that's completely fine. I just still find it weird that he attacked Lymond before and didn't now, even though it was the same ship. Leonie Strozzi is quite shocked, I think, at Lymond's change of demeanour. Like, he was very much like laughing and drinking and loving during Will Scott's wedding, and now Leonie's seeing like a very serious, well, he's come at a really bad time, side of Lymond. And he's also questioning why Lymond is so bent on Gabriel. Like, were they rivals for power? Is it revenge or jealousy or envy or slighted love even? Such a severe masculine aura about the Dauphine, even the women one discovers are to be put off. What the hell? What does that mean? Jerrott wants to kick Leonie Strozzi into the sea. I think I was listening to the Lymond Book Club and saying about, I think it was Laura, who was saying that she thinks that Jerrott is just a highly repressed gay man who is really struggling to admit even the smallest thing about himself. And reading it in this light makes it so fun and amusing. So I'm going to go with that version of the truth. We also have to take into account that Lymond literally strikes Philippa. And for no reason, Philippa was honestly being super innocent and good-willed in trying to help Lymond. Maybe slightly naive, sure. Like, don't go near Lymond when he's like this. Yeah, just don't. Still, like, Lymond shouldn't have done that. And then it takes Mart to basically talk Lymond around. And this is where I get really confused. So whenever Mart speaks, Marta, I still can't say her name, she reminds me so much of Kristen Stewart, in terms of Kristen Stewart would have been the one that would have talked Lymond down in this situation, but now it's Marta. Now, here's like a really weird inconsistency in Lymond, and I don't know why it's like this, but essentially Lymond really puts family first, and he's trying to find this son of his, right? He's turning the world upside down to find this son, but then there's Marta in front of him who looks like him clearly, and he's not admitting it to himself and completely pushing it away in his mind, and it's obvious to everyone. If Lymond is so attached to family and literally going to the ends of the earth to get his son back, killing for his son, if he's seeing someone who looks like himself, looks like they could be his sister or a close family member, why isn't he interested in knowing about them? Like, this is clearly his blood. Why is he ignoring that? And yeah, sure, okay, going after a child of yours is probably more important than going after some unknown aunt or half-sister or whatever. But, you know, because the child is his responsibility. But it just seems crazy that he's so in on one but then ignoring the other, and like shutting it away out of his mind. And you could say that him shutting it away is him deeply caring about it, but about Marta, but it's just weird. Eventually, anyway, Marta's basically like, look, you're being dumb. Like, you're overreacting. This is exactly what Gabriel wants you to do. Please don't do that. And Lymond finally asks the question, like, who the hell is your father? And Marta doesn't seem to know, which is probably true. I don't know if she would know. Which means that her mother, well, how would Marta be related to Lymond? The same father then. But Lymond looks like his mother, so it makes me think that they're related via the Sibylla's line. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, eventually Lymond gets his shit together and doesn't then go on a killing spree, and gets, they go back to, like, we're not going to Malta, we're making straight for Jerba instead. I'm assuming that that is just the next step for them getting to Turkey. And then actually finally goes to sleep. We always get, like, when Lymond finally sleeps, we know that that means that finally we get him in a different mood the next day. He has 48 hours of intense moods that then go only when he sleeps. Anyway, yeah, I found these chapters difficult to read, but I will see you for chapter 7, which is Bone and Monastir.